I'd say that things have moved much to the better shape at the moment. So a couple of years back, I'd say that it was all the discussion and even the events when going like different events throughout the world. It was lots of discussion about technology and protocols and security and these kind of like invisible things and the things that are not meaningful for the business people. And as I'm the co-chair of Industrial Internet Consortium's energy group, so I've seen from there also a lot what's happening in the world at the moment and during the past 2 years. And I'd say that already last year, so 2016 was a year, or end of 2015 was the turning point, that companies went from pilots and proof of concepts to real business. And it's not anymore such way that IoT would be sold to technology heads, for example, going to a company and meeting technological guys and selling them that. It's more about selling to the business people. That's I'd say that is a big difference. For example, if you think about telco operators who are selling companies like mobile phones and the connection, they are still talking with IT department and those people. But the decisions for IoT and utilizing that inside the business is made by the business heads and C-level executives in that way. So that's also my recommendation when thinking about Taiwanese startups. You should go meet those C-level executives who are in charge of business, and you have to be able to present your solution such way that what it is, what kind of benefit their business gets from that. Not about how efficient your radio is or these kinds of things. Or one thing, for example, when we have an IoT platform, we are not. Our business model is such also that we are pricing it very simple way. So it's not about how much data is going in there, or how many sensors there are, or users, or how much data is stored somewhere. We have a fixed license fee, which is a monthly fee. Okay, it can be also longer or shorter if the customer wants, but it's a fixed fee, and it related. Okay, if we take, for example, district heating network, the utility pays a certain amount of money every month, and they get more benefit out of that, and they can predict to the future how much it is, and very simple. So that's I'd say a recommendation also, that always think about the customer, and even further think about customers. What can you provide to those end customers of your solution? Yes, when thinking about IoT, it's only one part of the whole thing. So there are some researches that say, okay, first of all, you have to divide industrial internet and IoT. So IoT is more like consumer thing, and industrial internet, that's for then businesses, B2B. And when thinking about IoT, you also have so Internet of Things, that's like refrigerators and lamps and those kinds of things. But then you have to think about Internet of Humans. So what kind of things you have on you that are measuring you? If you are sending yourself something like in social media, those kinds of things, that's Internet of Humans. And then there is like Internet of Computers also, which is the most old one. So that's traditional laptops and those kinds of things. So all those combined, they generate Internet of Everything. So that, and I'd say that again for the recommendation is that yes, Internet of Everything is a larger, but then depending on what you do also. So if you are doing industrial internet stuff, then I think that you should be talking about industrial internet, because at least internationally, if you're talking only about IoT, then it might be understood wrongly. And okay, Internet of Everything the term is coming from Cisco systems, and I'd say that that's much wider than the Internet of Things only. I'd say that it's the same thing as my first answer. So you don't think about some kind of app, or don't think about the technology. Think about what it means in a big picture for everything that is around and for the benefit of the consumers. So that's the thing. Really hard question. But I'd say that what startup can do is that go international, go into those networks. For example, Industrial Internet Consortium is 280 companies working together. Get yourself known in the industry. Get yourself known to your customers. So go to the customers, go to the CEO. I go to the CEOs. Also, okay, you can have some kind of unique way of thinking or unique technology or unique device. If you are thinking about future acquisition, as startups should think about acquisition or going to have an IPO, you need to have patents and you need to have different kind of IPR that you can protect. So that's a value to how you secure your business also for the future. Asia is not so different to Europe or to US. Maybe there is more hype and those kinds of things. But when thinking about energy IoT, the big thing for the energy sector as a whole will be the demand response and basically when consumers are also providing electricity by themselves, so they have solar panels and they sell back to that network. There are different kind of microgrids, so isolated areas. So how to get all that functioning? So it needs intelligence in many places, and of course, industrial internet or Internet of Everything thinking inside there. Yes, I'd say that 3D is it's not for all applications. So some of the applications don't need 3D, and even not so much visualization as a whole. But for very complex and large-scale things, nobody can understand if it's only like graphs and numbers and those kinds of things. You have to get some kind of familiar environment. For example, we auto-generate 3D landscapes, so 3D maps, and we can embed on top 3D models of the buildings. So it's like a mirror of the real world. And when you bring data there or showing something happening in there, it's like very easily understandable, even though there would be masses of technology behind and masses of numbers. But at least for the end customers and also business people and those who are not like experts in just that area, it's very vital to have a good visualization. I'd say that companies are as good, and I believe that technology is as good in here than in Europe or in US. I'd say what the US does best, also we Europeans have to learn from the US, is the basically commercialization and going to the customer, being positive, these kinds of things. Okay, it's American style of selling stuff, but as hard it is to believe even that really works. So that's why most of the global leading companies like Facebook and Google, they come from US, is that they basically build a brand, bring the value, they don't have better technology than other companies, but they just, okay, one of the things in US compared to Asia and compared to Europe is also that I think that VC, so venture capitalist culture is different. So they are pumping huge amounts of money when they see something that, okay, this can now break, this brand can really break. It's advertised and marketed and speakers all over. So those VCs, they really then fund the company such a way that they can basically take the market with that money. So that's actually a sad situation, but it's something that also I think that the venture capitalists in Asia and in Europe should be educated on. So it doesn't always matter how good your product is. It's about how you sell it. You have to get to your like uncomfortable zone. So okay, when I founded Cyber Lightning and when I was at Sensinode, so I went straight to the customers, straight to these like marketing type of international organizations like the Industrial Internet Consortium. But okay, that was pretty easy for me because I used to sell internet advertising in Finland from 2000 to 2004. And basically nobody customers even back at that time they knew, or some did, but very rare knew about what is banner. And I had done that hard sales already. But if you're thinking that you have a startup and you are, for example, a founder, very technological founder in that company, and you don't see that that's your area. So ask and try to find some people inside your company that would do then that thing very well. But be careful also that when you hire somebody, it must be recommended by someone who has worked with them before. So just taking somebody who is, okay, he's a sales guy and he's a good guy, he's your friend, and you're drinking with him. I think that, okay, hey, that guy would be perfect for my startup. That's not actually the case. It might be the worst decision that you make. You break up your friendship because you have never worked with him or her before. So it has to be recommended by someone who has worked with them. But yes, going, and it's all about selling. When you go to the customer meeting, it's okay, sometimes they just ask you, okay, give a presentation right away. Then you tell about your thing. But what's the most important thing is that, and it has to be trained, is that think about that you will be speaking 20% of the time and the customer will be speaking 80%. So ask questions from your customers. Try to find such high hidden needs that even he or she doesn't even know herself. So it's like getting the information, and when you get the information, then you can find the best angle to your speech, to your sales speech. You can even modify your product in your mind that it fits to that need that he or she is really needing. So that's the recommendation for the sales. Virtual world, so 3D is coming, also augmented reality. Then blockchain is something that will happen, and there are multiple purposes for utilizing that. And of course, artificial intelligence. Those are things to follow. Yeah. So my recommendation for Taiwanese startups for IoT and IoE is that go to customers, be yourself, ask the questions, create relationships and networks, and go. Don't be afraid of anything, Think positively. Think on, you can have a vision far away, far ahead, where you are going, but think all the time, think about this moment, what you are doing today to enable that future. And then it's a must to make mistakes. Do mistakes, do lots of mistakes, because you are not going forward if you are not doing that, and you are not learning. And don't look back on those. Don't be ashamed or harmed if you make mistakes. If you, for example, you go in front of big audience and you say something or you fall down the stage or something like that, take the positive out of that. So think positive and concentrate on the moment, and keep your vision very, very bright and big. So go.